Welcome to another edition of the Resilient Living Podcast, a show dedicated to improving quality of life for both people and planet through liberation and independence, moving from surviving to thriving and living life on your own terms. All right, so what do we got for you guys today? We got growing your own food on land you don't own, episode 44, where my voice just almost popped right back out of immaturity. Excuse the background noise. This is my vehicle as I'm driving on my work commute today here. So yeah, let's talk about growing your own food on land you don't own, how you should do this, why you should do this, what's the ROI, what experience do you need to have, and what could you expect? That's what we're going to cover, so let's just jump right in. So the very first thing is what experience do you need? I think that's probably the very first part that people are wondering, like, man, I want to grow my own food, this seems kind of fun and everything, but before I even look for any, I've never really grown much. Well, I'd like to tell you guys about plants, about having a green thumb and a black thumb, as some people like to say, and really that's a myth. There's a lot of things that you guys have been doing that's not your fault, and that's why some stuff that you try to grow isn't growing. You need to check out the land race episode with Joseph Lofthouse that we did, and he's the type of person that breeds plants, and both of us agreed there's nothing really a lot of us are doing except for buying seed from places that we shouldn't be buying from for various reasons quickly, because some seeds are bred raised, from a mother plant in places where, say, it's hot, humid, cold, and then you bring them into your environment and they don't really match your climate. Of course they're not going to grow well. They've been adapted to that area, that biome. So it's very simple to grow stuff. I've got celery popping out of in my garden. I got celery shoots popping out of everywhere. I eat them like little microgreens, and they won't stop growing. There's just so much seed. That was left over from a plant that I grew actually from the grocery store. Okay, some celery. You take all the outer parts of the celery out, right, for my raw juices and things like that, and then you leave the inner heart, and you just bury that in like an inch of soil, and voila, you have a giant celery plant that, like mine, that was probably about 3.5, 4 feet tall. Leave it alone, it'll just go to seed by itself. And of course you need to water and give a little bit of love on it, weeding and some compost, but it pretty much just grew itself. I've got plants that I chopped off at the stump, and like kale and things like that, and they're growing back. I've got all kinds of stuff. I didn't even need to plant, just volunteer. So plants have an adaptability. They also have a fight for survival, as anything on this planet does. And like you're probably experiencing right now in 2021, where you want survival of your wallet so you can make it through this inflation period. So I think that you should definitely consider growing your own food. You don't really need that much experience. You really need more trial than error. So nothing that you did, try a bunch of varieties and things like that. And as many as you can, try to source seeds from places. Like I live in California. I may want to buy from Johnny Select Seeds or San Diego Seed Company, something that is as local to my area that I can find. You can also listen to Joseph Lofthouse on the podcast where we're talking about going to farmers markets. Save the seed from the tomatoes, from the zucchini, the watermelons, the melons, all of the cantaloupes. Grow those. That's what's growing in your area. You actually get a meal and you get free seed. So I don't want people to get discouraged. I want to get you guys excited. So maybe now I've got you excited, but you're like, hey, Adrian, I don't own land. I don't even know. I get what you're saying. I don't even know how to find land. All right. First of all, let's talk about where to find a plot. I recommend that you guys find a plot that's very near to you. Something that you can come after work. And for those of you who have a 9-to-5 job and you really want to have the flavor of the yummy foods and things like that, you don't want to be doing like I'm doing, where you take a whole day off. A lot of you guys probably can't. I take off Fridays are my days, where I usually go down to my plot and check everything out, check the irrigation. And I'm a tinkerer and an inventor of the biodegradable container gardening system. So my systems I've been inventing myself and tweaking like constantly, are so I don't have to be there all the time. But that takes a lot of work, a lot of ingenuity, and I haven't released it out to the public a lot yet. But you're most likely going to be growing in the ground. You're going to have weeds, you're going to have pests and things like that. Watering issues, you need to check for your irrigation. So something that you can come by every single day and you can take a look at. Do you have to be there every day? No, but it helps. I think if I could have my garden within walking distance, I'd be there every single day, not just to troubleshoot and things like that, but really to harvest and keep up eating foods. There's a lot of times I grow so much, by the time I get to, say, like my zucchini, like I'm experiencing right now, they're all gigantic. They get all woody, and you can still eat them, but they're not the best. So yeah, try to find something local. And I'd like to tell you guys, some of you are probably just looking and going, well, how do I find something local? Well, you establish the where, get it as close as possible. A lot of you guys are probably saying, well, I don't want to go door to door, and I'm kind of embarrassed and things like that to start this off. You know what? Where to find a plot is super, super easy, guys. What I utilize is not door to door, although it could help. If you know neighbors and things like that, ask everybody you know. And the thing I use is Facebook. That was my number one go-to. I'd go to the cities, the friends of around me. I got friends of Vista, friends of Fallbrook, and I put out a message on there. I became a member because I live in that area, and I just posted, hey, I'm a guy, here's what I've got going on, spell everything out, tell them that you're going to, pay all the water that you use, you'll actually weed and maintain a certain portion of a property, and you'll actually give them some produce. So I did that, and I had over 50 offers, guys, like that, without doing anything, without having to drive anywhere. Granted, some of mine were on the other side of town, a lot of them were. But for you just got to keep trying and try. Give yourself an address on your post and say anything in and around this area. And just keep posting. The people won't mind. That way you don't have to knock on doors if you don't want to. I recommend that you do. Go find yourself a backyard where there's weeds and stuff growing, or there's not much going on, where somebody doesn't have it all super decorative like a Martha Stewart backyard. But, they own the property. You want to figure that out. Talk to them. Are they renting? Are they leasing? You definitely want to find property owners. And you might be asking yourself too, is like, well, realistically, how many people are really even interested in somebody growing in their backyard? A ton of people. They have to pay a gardener to go out there and maintain that land. If you do that for them in exchange, they're more than happy. Then they're even more than happy that there's the seafood being produced on their property, and then to be able to eat some of it. So guys, there are tons of people out there practically begging for someone like you to come out and handle this stuff for them and do these things. So yeah, we covered where to find a plot, how to find a plot, and I want to talk about, now that I've probably got you to this point where you're like, hey, I think I can start something. And really, guys, it is that easy. Just start simple, like lettuce, or like tomatoes, zucchini, bell peppers, cucumbers, just things that very simple. Just start off if you're very gun shy, and just keep going at it. Keep going at it. And I guarantee you, you will get stuff growing. It's not that hard. Everybody can grow. So, but before you choose a plot, when you have many, and understand me when I say this, is that each house is actually unique. There are different things. Now, I'm not going to make this too complicated. I want to make it very simple for you guys. But what I want you to do is multiple inspections of different, inspections of different things. When you have a sloped land, depending on where you live, try to get it as flat as possible. If you live in a sloped area that gets a lot of rain, for instance, you're going to get a lot of runoff, a lot of wash. You want to look at the neighbor's roof. Is it hanging close to the fence where it's going to flood? Is there a wood fence between you and that, where the slope where it's upgrade? Is all that water pouring into the neighbor's backyard? Those are little things to take in consideration. Sunlight. Is there any big trees that's going to block your sunlight? That is very, very important. I think one of the most equally important thing is the insects. So you can have a fence between you and a yard, and what you're going to find is that there's way more aphids on your side than there is the other side. Aphids are really difficult to try to find, especially if people are spraying pesticides and things like that, depending on what type of year you're at. But one good thing is to study. I would recommend that people study as much as you can. Watch a bunch of garden videos before you start, just to get yourself, get your whistle wet and get some sort of knowledge behind you. But one of the things I like to inspect for is the aphids, and you can find them on like rose bushes. So go around the house the plot that possibly accepted you and that you might choose. Take an inspection and look at all the bugs, the plants and stuff around them. Ask them questions. You know, do you guys have lots of snails? Or do you guys have lots of rats, mice, possums? Have you noticed any slugs? Things like that. One thing you can do is turn a lot of rocks or wood debris and stuff like that over, and that's going to let you know if you have pincher bugs, aka also roly-polies. I forget, what's the other name for pincher bugs? I can't remember. Earwigs, there we go. Also snails, when it's hot, they're going to want to recede and hide in places, incubate. Why do you need to worry about these pests, especially snails and slugs? Because they will ruin your plants. Now there's ways to deal with them, but some places are more riddled than others, and that may be something that you might want to take in consideration. Yeah, so before you choose, the light I think is the biggest one. I think also you want to take a little small shovel and dig down into that soil. You can take a little garden shovel and just see how far down you can, if you can go about 6 inches or so, I think you're pretty darn good. If you hit rock within the first inch, you know, if it's hard dirt, you may not want to choose that plot. Now there are other considerations you can do, such as raised beds and container gardening and things like that. But now we're looking at a little bit more of an investment instead of just having an old shovel and a rake, you know, and a hoe to get started. So, all right. So now that we got you guys on that, on inspections before you grow. Well, what to grow? What should you grow? I think that you should grow as many, as I said, different species as possible. Start off with something simple if that's what you think you need to do. If you're a little gun shy, as I say, to really kind of start trying all kinds of different things, go down, take a look at your seed catalogs, go to garden forums, check out some stuff like that. It can really, really be helpful. Ask what's going on, your local garden forums, like on Facebook and stuff like that. If there's not one, start one. But yeah, there's a lot of different things that you can do. You can YouTube areas, like if you live in Los Angeles or like I live in San Diego. I still, to this day, I've been growing for many years, and I still look at what people are talking about. What's growing in San Diego, wintertime, summertime, what's pest controls and things like that. There's webinars and all kinds of wonderful places to get information, and actually all for free. What to grow, I would say, is find out the stuff that you like to eat. Just take a look. I mean, a lot of people, I do want to tell you this before I move forward on that, is that a lot of things I didn't think that I would like, I actually ended up loving. And that is like turnips. Never knew, because they're grown and they're picked to their perfection at the ripe states, they're actually really sweet. So take in consideration that there may be things that you think you don't want, but they are going to taste a lot different once they're grown organically without pesticides and plenty of compost. Go to the grocery store, you know, you're not going to get the best of flavors, but if you don't know what to grow, go out there and start to taste test. Just buy one head, like one turnip. Just go home and eat it. Buy one calabri. Weird stuff that you never even thought. An experiment. Take a look around you. I think, like, with the things you eat in your home, most people eat like lettuces, spinach, tomatoes, lettuce and cucumber salads, you know, onions, things like that. Just make yourself a list and go out and remember to source your seeds locally. It's going to save you a bunch of headache. I mean, I spent hundreds of dollars on seeds when I first started out, and it just was a fiasco. It didn't really work out. So yeah, one of the things I want to move on to is irrigation and compost. And these are two of the main things that you're going to need to amend your soils, whether you're container gardening, raised bed gardening, or gardening in the ground. Although Joseph Lofthouse, if you listen to that show, he claims that he's growing food without any compost and minimal amount of water, but he's land racing, and that takes some time. But yeah, being close to your plot is why this is very important. If I could, I would check my irrigation every single day. I have it on automation, which is a cheap little pump at the time right now. It's probably around no more than $40. It works on 2 AA batteries, and I don't have to be there. I spent the money on irrigation tubing and things like that, so my farm goes off on irrigation every 12 hours for 2 minutes. And yeah, that's pretty much the the idea for the irrigation for me. But for you guys, you're going to need to probably hand water if you're just starting out, and you're going to need to check on this thing. So yeah, you got to make sure if your plants dry out one time, and I mean to significantly dry out where the plant just starts to get wilty, you're probably going to have some problems, because once that root zone gets destroyed and the microbiology in that soil, yeah, you're going to start to see some stuff that's not looking too good and could destroy your plants. You may have to start from scratch all over again. So, word on irrigation too, I would recommend that you guys get yourself a RV watering hose, a water hose suited for drinking water. A lot of people don't think about this, but the garden hoses that you buy, take a good whiff. Go into Home Depot, unscrew the end, just stick your nose right in that hole and smell it. Tell me if that smells natural and that's something that you want to put in your body. It's toxic. It's disgusting. You don't even need science or people to tell you. You can just smell it. Go down and buy yourself a food grade water hose and smell it, and you're still going to get some little bit of smell, but not quite as bad. There are urethane hoses, polyurea, I believe, polyurethane hoses that you might want to consider buying. They have zero smell, and they're expensive. You know, it's like $100 for a hose, but you'll have this hose for a very long time and the minimal, if not any, pollution whatsoever. And irrigation, you want to kind of stay on top of. I recommend that if you guys are busy and you're working a job, hand water if you need to for the first start of this thing. I mean, I don't have time to go into how to, start seedlings and stuff like that, but water by hand at first until you can save up some money. It's really not that much. For $100, you can probably irrigate, I would say a good about 1/8 of an acre. Depending on what you're doing. I don't know what you're growing, what your spacing is, if you're using raised beds or just soil. But yeah, you can really do some damage. Sorry guys, I'm driving and I got people just flying all around all over the place over here. You can really do some damage by even doing just a portion of it, good damage of your plot by automating. It's one less thing that you got to do when you get there. You can just check it real quick. Whether to do overhead watering or drip irrigation, it depends a lot. Again, you're going to have to educate yourself. I think that if you live in a cold climate, you probably might want to do, or even extreme hot climate, you probably want to do drip irrigation. Because if you do overhead irrigation early in the morning, while everything's cold, you're going to freeze your plants, if you get some frost in those. If you're in the heat area and you water your plants and they're all dripping as the sun starts to bake everything, you're going to be in trouble as well. So compost is another one. I think that you're going to need a lot of it, and these are things that you have to buy, chicken manures and things like that. But if you want to source your stuff for free, it's one more thing you're going to have to do. I would recommend this. I would recommend that you go get yourself some 5-gallon Home Depot hardware buckets of any sorts. Go to bakeries, any kind of restaurants. You can actually find 5-gallon buckets for free sometimes. Look on Craigslist, look on OfferUp. Tell a little bit of a story, put it on Facebook. Hey, this is what I'm doing. If anybody has 5-gallon buckets with lids, I definitely would be happy to come pick them up. But what you're going to do is you're going to take these 5-gallon buckets and you're going to go around the neighborhood, around where your farm is at, and you can get as big or small as you want, and just ask people to leave their scraps for you. And in return, you'll give them maybe a zucchini and some tomatoes, a tomato, a cucumber. Whenever you can, you'll leave it there on their doorstep for them as a gift. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this 5-gallon bucket with a lid, and you're going to go to each house and tell them to put all their food scraps in there. You'll have to learn about compost. I don't have time again to tell you what to put in there. But every time you show up once a week to that house, you're going to take that bucket that they leave on the porch or on the backyard, wherever, and you're going to exchange it for an empty bucket. You're going to take that bucket with you in your car or on your bicycle or walking down the street. And you're going to go down to your garden plot and you're going to dump it in your compost pile. How to make a compost pile, that's probably another episode. But yeah, that's how you're going to source out your compost. There's many, many creative ways. You can go to grocery stores, little mama and papa places, Mexican grocery stores, Asian grocery stores. I think they really don't care. Ask permission first, but you can go in the back. And I've seen places where they're throwing away tons of bananas and rotten strawberries and apples and stuff like that. Take that home and put that in your compost pile. Now you got free compost. I would recommend that you guys start a worm casting side hustle. which can go into, a lot of where you can actually make money and things like that. But yeah, that's a little bit more comprehensive. All right, the ROI, moving on at what to expect. Now, I think that you guys want to do this because the cost of food is so high. So what we want to do is we want to get you guys growing your own food. That's the main reason why I've done mine, is so that, to battle inflation. There's no price tag that you could put on growing your own food for health and things like that. But you may end up, if you live in the city, where people are going to pass by. Well, that's the kind of the thing I would recommend that you guys do, is get yourself into a place where they have a low fence, right? Where they have like a chain link fence, some people can see through. When neighbors are walking their dogs and stuff in the mornings or evenings, they're going to see you growing all this food and know you don't live there, right? Be like, what are you up to? You start a dialogue, and it might end up, give them a cucumber right there on the spot, or a tomato, and tell them you grow all organic. You may end up where you have people wanting you to grow food for them. So you can actually make a business out of this. In fact, a lot of people have, and it's called spin farming, S-P-I-N farming, restaurants and things like that. But start off small and work your way up. ROI is, there's many things that you can do. You can start land racing your own seeds, meaning you have seeds that are adapted to your biome that even the town next to you doesn't have. So there's many things that you can do. This is going to give you experience. It's going to give you connection, I think, to your life, because a lot of us are missing that connection that we have with our food, growing our own food and things like that. It gives you purpose in life. It makes you feel grounded and wonderful. There's a reason why a lot of people grow their own food, why they enjoy it, why there's hobbyists and things like that. In fact, some people who are emotionally damaged and seeking to be some repair, they actually, when they go to some places for self-help, the first thing they recommend is that they go work in the garden. So yeah, the ROI is huge on your health, on your wallet, all the way across the board. As things progress here in 2021, I think that one step you can do to battle inflation and gain more control of your life is to take control of your food source. If not all of it, just a nice good chunk of it. And you will not be disappointed, I guarantee you. So guys, that's the show. You guys, please like and subscribe. Go down below, ask me questions. Let me know what you guys want to hear about. If you're digging this kind of stuff, you want to hear more about permaculture, money, sustainability, resiliency, minimalism, I live it, guys. I live this life. I've been doing it for a long time, and I'm here to share, and I want to spread the love to the world. I want to help people live better lives, basically. So yeah, with that, guys, down below is all the information. Give it a thumbs up, thumbs down. If you gave it a thumbs down, tell me why. But yeah, go out there and have yourself a near life experience, my friends. Don't lose your muchness. Carry on the fire, and human up.